Or it's okay to be ordinary.
That's a great way to put it. I have a very hard time with that. It feels so. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying my whole being rebels against that, because for me, so much of my life was about trying to be the extraordinary daughter and proving my value in my family of origin.
That's where we receive love.
By being extraordinary and being a standout. Welcome to our back porch. Pull up a seat and listen in to an unscripted, unedited conversation between two seminary-trained published authors who have been married 20 years and still love talking together. We are recording from Cape Town, South Africa. We made it, guys. We're here.
We sound like such international people now.
Well, suddenly, I've never traveled this far.
We are now international men and women of mystery.
This is a major trip for me and the boys. Dale, you've traveled big distances before. But for us, I feel, for all of us, it's a big culture change.
It is. We have not done traveling like this in quite a long time, especially not with kids. We did it more when we were younger. On our honeymoon, we went to Switzerland, which turns out is the exact same time zone that we're in right now down here in South Africa.
Yeah, though we're a lot further south than I've ever been.
Yeah, we're in penguin country.
We are. We wanted to share with you all some of the things we've been observing. We've been first updating our new Instagram account at Sailing Lady Gray. So you can look that up and follow us on Instagram to see some of our updates. But one of the surprising things that has happened to us is that none of our very carefully, meticulously packed 14 bags have arrived. We are here with just our carry-ons. And that has meant we're doing a lot of, noticing what matters to us by what we stuck in those carry-ons.
Yeah, we last saw our bags on Monday, and Monday morning, it was still in the AM, and here it is Thursday night, and we still don't have our bags yet. But 14 bags is a lot to keep track of, so I'm imagining they're like half of them are in Sri Lanka, some are in Iceland.
We thought they were in Frankfurt or New Jersey.
Have been stolen or are being sold as hot items on the streets of New York. I have no idea where they are.
Ollie's harp is being sold to the highest bidder.
Somebody's using it to play for money on the streets of Chicago. Who knows?
All my watercolor paper is with his harp, so I feel like, oh, God, please bring that to us.
Yes.
Well, every bag is important.
Every bag is so important, and we had to pack. I mean, if people knew, well, I'll just tell them really briefly. We wanted to freight all of our stuff over to put onto the boat. This is like the most basic, essential living things that we have that we didn't want to have to rebuy because it's cheaper to ship than purchase these things. So we wanted to freight it, but it turned out to freight it was going to cost so much. And then they said the freight company that's on the other side that would be receiving it over here said, but you can't even collect anything out of it unless you either pay like 25 to 50% duty on top of its entire value, which of course defeats the purpose, or you wait till a week before you depart, which would be in October, before you can collect it.
So we're going to be here so long. That's part of the reason we're bringing things over, because we can hang out for a couple months without our essentials. I mean, here we are a week without a lot of stuff we need.
So we put it all on the airplane.
We were like, no. Okay, so we're going to schlep it across.
Doing it on the airplane allows, they're totally fine with you bringing it into the country, your own personal stuff, from the airplane without paying duty and all that stuff.
Yes.
But so that's where we're kind of at. We're like, well, we put it on the airplane, and then it's not even here. So
and this is the other thing that's
so funny.
It is. It's ironic. It's concerning. I can tell people are praying for me, especially because I do not feel a lot of anxiety about these bags.
I don't either, actually. I'm only pretending I have anxiety.
That's a big deal for us, because this represents the last 2 years of condensing the most important pieces.
So much time and effort to shrink everything down to just this. And these bags are just duffels. It's not even like, jumbo suitcases.
No, they're all duffels. They're not super well protected. And we put locks, CSA locks on them, but we locked them, but we forgot to scramble the code.
It's so embarrassing. Don't scramble them yet, because we may need to tuck one or two more things in, and then we hand it to the baggage guys, and they just take them, and they're like, well, there they go. Unscrambled. I guess that defeated the purpose of having locks. It feels so silly. But
they're in a
we were
very safe place. Washington, D.C. has very low crime, and it's a great place to be.
I just hope United Airlines is keeping track of this, you know.
Well, when I called them today and spoke with India, they said that they had their eyes on all our bags, and so all would be well.
And just as a token for all of this trouble, we're going to give you a $100 voucher for future travel so we can do this again and endure this hardship. And it expires in a year, so you better hurry up and use it. I hope you feel a good consolation prize. Yes, I feel very consoled.
Well,
anyway,
I just wanted to point out that part of the reason we're actually even able to record is because Dale had the foresight to put the microphones in his carry-on. And Dale also somehow managed to sneak 5 or 6 changes of clothes into all the carry-ons.
I brought.
And so did Finn. Ollie and I have one pair of clothes, one change of clothes.
Dale realized that among all the essential things we're bringing to South Africa, the most essential thing should be in the carry-on. So I have my stuff. I don't know what's going on with you guys.
Well, Ollie and I are having fun wearing the exact same clothes over and over again.
I have half of the harp stuff in my backpack.
It's because there were so many things we wanted to bring, but they were too heavy, like liquid-wise, and they wouldn't go through security. We had to go through security with our carry-ons like 6 times.
It's true.
And I accidentally packed that cheese knife, which they confiscated, so we don't have our cheese
We've
knife.
been trying to get rid, I have, secretly, trying to get rid of this Cutco cheese knife, the kind you get like for free, just so they can try to sucker you in to do it, so you know the thing is worth like 50 cents. Anyway, it's become like Jonalyn's favorite knife.
It is.
But I hate it.
Oh, shoot. The boys are calling you right now, and I don't think we told them.
You think they are?
Yeah, I just heard Finn say Dad.
You know,
and we didn't tell them we were doing recording. So I'll monologue while you go.
You monologue.
I'll go update them.
I'm going to take off my microphone.
Put out that
real
fire.
quick.
I will update them about why you are having to go talk with our boys.
Microphone's just going to sit here on the table.
Okay, so we have just been, we survived a 15-hour plane flight, and we are dealing with the jet lag. Our boys have never experienced jet lag like this, and even though we're on day 3, it's still pretty topsy-turvy. So the boys are sharing a bed, and I can't tell you how many squabbles that has created. So that's what Dale's doing. He is the family mediator, though, so I know he's going to do great putting out that fire. You'll probably hear some of the mediation he's doing in the background. One of the things I've noticed in being here in South Africa is how differently we have to acclimate to what it means to look people in the eye and engage with all the different types of people here. So many different ethnicities. As we've been learning about South African history, finding out there's a large East Indian population because many East Indians were exported, shipped down to South Africa as political prisoners. There also was a law passed that you could not take black slaves from South Africa, and so the country imported slaves from Madagascar, other Eastern African countries, and from India. So you have native black people here, South Africans. You have imported black people from other countries in Africa. You have Indians, East Indians living here. You have white British descendants, of British descent people living here. Then you have Dutch descendants, the Boers. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but it is so much more, oh wow, just eye-opening, looking around and seeing just the people, the color of their skin, their ethnicity tells the story of the history of this place. And just because you're white doesn't mean you get along with other white people. And the exact same thing if your skin is brown. So I, as a half Mexican, half Polish woman, raised in the United States, coming over here, I realized how different the questions of culture are. And also aware, too, of how damaging viewing diversity simply on the basis of race is, because diversity in and of itself isn't really, or shouldn't really be, a value. There's so much more to unite us or to interest us as humans than simply diversity. So we're navigating all that with our boys, along with the extremes of poverty and begging on the streets and without our bags, remembering the essentials, remembering the things that we value the most, and putting our treasure there. Dale, you're back. I hope you were able to mediate that situation.
All is well.
Okay.
All is well. The boundaries in the shared bed have been made, and the consequences articulated.
Good. I'm glad.
Going forward.
I had to hear about that all day today, about how they didn't get good night's rest because of this, even though it's actually because of the jet lag.
I'm telling them they need to grow up and be mature.
Excellent.
I love saying that to children. I wanted to say, when you're talking about diversity,
yes.
It made me think of I saw a little sticker on the back of one of the work trucks out there. There's a lot of construction, going on the couple blocks over. And it said something along the line of, teamwork is our strength. And I thought, the most of the time when I hear about is our strength is the diversity line. But I'm not sensing here the idea that diversity is our strength, because they already have so much diversity.
Yeah, they're not looking for it.
Because diversity is chaos. It is such chaos without teamwork.
Oh, that's a great point.
And I think that is something that our society is losing. Well, okay, let's just say frankly, the communist messaging, which is diversity messaging, so that it will erode and destroy teamwork, which creates unity and real progress. We've been sold a bill of goods that diversity creates progress. It doesn't. Diversity is just the group of people you have all around you, and there's, like you said, a variety of ways we're already diverse. There's even diversity in our own family, for Pete's sake. So
yes, any parent with kids and the differences between kids knows
But teamwork assumes there's a goal, and everybody's trying to achieve it together and look out for each other.
That's excellent.
And that, to me, is far more important. So diversity is already built in. There's already diversity. Teamwork is what we're after.
That's great.
And that is what the West was actually built on, was teamwork.
That's right, because if you pursue diversity, you actually have a bunch of people who cannot even talk about anything meaningful.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say,
go
I
ahead.
wanted to write a book on friendship over, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And my goal was to pursue this diversity thing by making friends with people as different from me as possible and learning how we could connect. And I'm so grateful that nobody picked that book up and I never wrote it, because it was built on a false premise. You actually cannot be friends with someone unless you find some common ground.
That's right.
So friendship, teamwork needs to be the goal, not diversity.
Yeah.
And when people say diversity in America, what they mean is they want different ethnicities at the table and maybe different sexual orientations at the table.
And that every single one of them must have a particular worldview, which is a communist or soft communist worldview.
Yeah, they don't want a whole bunch of middle-class Christians from Kansas.
They don't want
They don't want anyone there.
They don't want, they
representing
don't
that.
want, even if you had an entire neighborhood of diversity of Indian and black and Asian and maybe one token white guy and all that in a neighborhood, if they all believed in Western values that the individual matters and that no exchange should be done unless it's agreed upon, which is, gets the nasty word capitalism, and you believe in private property, well, then they're bad. They're just a bunch of white supremacists. That is the language today. That is 100% the political messaging. And that's why, for the average person, it's hard to make sense out of it, because it seems so silly and weird. Like, well, it's not silly and weird when you discover the unifying idea behind all that is just communism. As soon as you step into that and realize the communists are the proletariat against the bourgeois, and the bourgeoisie, they're the ones who are the wealthy ones, and the proletariat are the workers, and the workers need to rise up against the bourge people and overthrow them so that it becomes a state full of just workers and they're all equal. That's the idea. In modern society, what we have right now, I shouldn't say modern society, in American society or whatever society it is, they target who they want to label as the bourgeoisie. And if they need them to be the white people, then that's what they're going to attack. They're the bourgeois. Or it's a rich person, that's who that is. So a black person can be the bourgeois if they don't hold to the communist ideals. So those are all targeted, and that's what Marx was all about. It's evil, and it's horrible, and it violates teamwork. Anyway,
That's That was a
Hopefully
side
South
note.
Africa can not do that, even though that kind of stuff is here
Is
and talking
here.
to the locals.
And we should talk about...
But I think that it's one thing they're addressing and overcoming, because they have discovered that unless they get unity together, unless they get that stuff together, they're going to lose their whole country.
They've been learning how to. We're just figuring this out and talking with local friends here about how to make teamwork happen in their politics. But I mean, time will tell as we continue to talk with people and learn about what's really going on here.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
right.
problems here. One of the things that came up today is the gap we've noticed between. Well, let's just use the boat industry because we're so deep into that right now. The difference between a boat company that says, we are the best and the fastest boat out there, and they get all the marketing, all the front page of the magazines, and they're known as incredibly fast boats. And then you talk to someone who knows boats and races boats, and you find they're actually, not only are they not the fastest, but the things that make them pretty fast are from another company.
Right. And when you say the gap, real quick, what do you mean?
Oh, mind the gap. There's a gap between what people are marketing and what reality is.
Yes, like expectations versus reality is the general phrase. And an example of that we're finding is in marketing.
Exactly. Thank you for summarizing that so nicely. That's how we do
Yes,
together.
and I'm glad we can talk about this, because I think people listening will be like, oh yeah, I want to go hunt out those things. So we can all look at it, be like, what are the things that we buy? And the marketing talked about it one way, but once we have it in our hand, it doesn't like really match that well.
And we were talking with someone we've met here in Cape Town about that gap between what people think they're buying and then what they're actually getting.
Because the marketing teams, which everybody knows today that unless you have good marketing, it's hard to sell your product, and especially when it's an expensive product. So marketing teams all get together in these firms and they throw their best ideas and they hype up like the aesthetics and the lifestyle and the emotion around a thing, and then they wrap it all up in this language that this is the ultimate. This will satisfy. You have reached the pinnacle. With this, you are in the know. And then you look at then if you were to like strip all the marketing off of the actual product and you sit there and stare at it and you're like, when you walk down a line of boats at the boat show and you're like, they have an engine compartment right there in the very back of the boat. If you have a following sea and you have some waves and it's getting a little choppy, you need to work on your engine, guess what? That whole engine bay is going to get filled with salt water, which will destroy what's going on in that engine bay, namely, your engine. Like, who designed that? The marketing team didn't. The engineering team did, or the design team. The design team didn't think through all that because maybe they're not designing it from experience on the water, but just looking at CAD algorithms and putting together some engineering structures about water flow. But they're not looking at, if you have to live on this thing, what's it going to be like? The marketing team's just looking down on it and say, we experience this in the publishing world. What exactly are you guys selling over there? We're selling a sailboat. Is it awesome? It is awesome. Okay, we're going to hype up the awesome sailboat you're selling, and they don't even talk to them anymore. They just off to do it. We found that with our books when we were selling our books. They're like, well, what's your book about? I'm like, are you kidding me? You are going to put what I consider our best foot forward on a book that I just spent writing over a year every single day, and you're not even going to read it? By the way, welcome to the publishing world. Most of the marketing is not done by people who've actually read the book. Oh, yeah, we're not going to read it, but just tell us like a summary of what it's about. You want me to write out a 3-sentence summary of what my book's about, and you're going to run with that and market it? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to get it accurately. In fact, I need everybody who's marketing this to read it and bring your own impressions of the book together so you can honestly say what this book's about and get it into the people who need it.
There's not actually interest, though, for most marketers to understand their product deeply.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So the expectation versus reality is like there's this fantasy world that we're presented, and so to get us to hand money over. And once we hand the money over, now we get the reality to live in. And most of the time, it's like, honestly, most of the time it's
Yeah.
Go into your local Goodwill and just go through the household item section.
Yeah.
And imagine what every little pot and pan, spatula, little spice rack, salt and pepper shakers. And imagine how all those were marketed at one point when they were sitting in a warehouse, still wrapped up in their cellophane. And somebody then purchased it off of the shiny rack at wherever they were, took it home, used it for a little bit, all the enchantment wears off because the marketing made it amazing. And now it's sitting here for, what, 20 cents? Somebody spent, $15 on that salt and pepper shaker set or more, and now it's 20 cents? Why? Because the expectation's all been worn off. All you have is a reality. That's probably all it was worth to begin with. But look at how much money we wasted on it. It's sobering to me whenever I'm trying to resell stuff. I'm like, this doesn't look as cool as the original pictures.
So why Facebook Marketplace has made you so sober about buying new things?
Oh my gosh, spend time on Marketplace. Try to sell stuff on there and you'll realize, oh my goodness gracious, we have been duped as consumers by these giant marketing engines.
We've had that experience in buying our boat. Even though I think we're getting a great price on it, we have done a lot of the work of researching and fine-tuning the details and the design, because that work was not done for us as we expected. We didn't even know we were going to have to come to South Africa. We thought we were getting this boat delivered to Fort Lauderdale when we signed the 100%. Papers.
I found it in the tiny fine print on the very last page of a very unprofessionally written out outline that was made on a Word document. You hit the tab button and it turns your solid dot into a hollow dot, and you tab it again, it becomes go from a big eye to a little eye. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. The pre-formatting? That's what our document was. And you're like, I guess this is the way it is in this world. The very last line, delivered in Knysna, South Africa. And I didn't notice that till long after the fact. So here we are in South Africa because I missed one little sentence in that and I didn't realize it. And then we tried to see how much it would cost to barge it across, and we're like, wow, that costs more than us going to South Africa and, for a long time and just having a great time and learning, having educational experiences and traveling around and giving our boys a wonderful education in this. So
here we are.
Here we are.
There is so much pressure in our world to market and the marketers to sell things that aren't even there, that they are incentivized to then use AI to oversell and promise things they cannot. In fact, we thought it would be interesting to use AI to try to develop some of your website for how to teach the Bible. And I was kind of pushing you to okay, you have all the information here. Let's just make this stronger. Yeah. Try to feed this into an AI engine and see what they come up with.
I went on Wix.com and they have an AI feature. So it was what is your website about? Tell us in a couple of sentences. So I'm on there telling this is a website on a product for teaching your kids the Bible so the parents are empowered to teach the Bible in their own living rooms. That's all I wrote. And it generated all this text and an entire web page layout that I saw all the hallmarks of good marketing in it. Had all this, emotional language and promise of the deliverables, but it sounded like the one project to rule them all. Honestly, if you were to buy my project based on the Wix website, you would think that there was Jesus and then Paul, and then after Paul was me explaining Jesus and Paul, and you didn't need anybody else. And I was like, wow, thanks, Wix website. But when I was reading that, I felt so self-conscious of I can't promise the moon with this. This does not say, this is the niche, and this is exactly what I'm bringing for you, and this is what I believe you'll be empowered to do. But that's it. And I know sometimes I think I undersell of what I offer. I know that. I understand that. And what I have to offer is way better than the way I would normally pitch it myself.
That's true.
Because I hate surprises, and I don't want people to get what they didn't pay for. I want them to feel like they got way more, but that's me, and I get it. I don't know, it's my personality or my own insecurity, whatever. But that website oversold it so huge. It's almost and if you buy this, you'll get a free Tesla, and you'll never be broke.
No, what you told
And
me.
you'll have 27 kids, and
You
they will
told
all be self-sustaining, so they never have an issue, never have to change diapers.
You told me after you read what Wix put together with AI, you said, this sounds like the one product you need to understand the Bible, and you will never, ever need to read the Bible or any other product ever again.
I know. Isn't that crazy? So, the AI marketing on that website understands marketing language and understands the behavior of it and how to hit the audience. And it's dishonest. And so, now we've created AI robots that tell people lies.
But it's not a person, so you don't have to feel guilty anymore.
It didn't, yeah. It's not culpable for the lies that it tells because it's not a person. So expectation and reality, and that's a rascal one, because I think we all want to, even when it comes to ourselves and what we do, we all want to have our best foot forward. We all want to, people to have a better impression of us than we really are. I mean, maybe we want to be like, I just want people to know me for who I really am. Like, well, if you did, why do you put on all the fancy clothes? Do you always wear fancy clothes? Or do you always wear that much makeup? Or do you always comb your hair like that? Or do you always, walk with this, super confident posture? And do you always shine your shoes? And do you, it goes on and on and on. And like, well, who you really are takes a lot to know. What you've given me is your public self and your first impression self. And that's the first impression you want to make. So that's what you want people to know, is your first impression self. So we all want to be, I think we all have a tendency to want to oversell because we're afraid deep down that the product ourselves that people wouldn't want to know it if we didn't oversell it a little bit. Maybe that's a little too honest, but
I think
as the Ragamuffin Gospel tries to address that,
How does it address it?
Well, it's the idea, like Brendan Manning, who wrote the Ragamuffin Gospel, he's like, when you walk up and you're walking down the street in front of storefronts, and there's that reflection of yourself that catching the glass. Do you pause? Are you looking through the window at the things, or do you pause and look at yourself in the window and make sure that you're looking presentable? And he says the discipline is to walk by those windows and not look. And so that's how it addresses it. Accept the ragamuffin qualities that we are, because God loves us as we are, not as we should be, because we can never be as we should be.
That's given me so much conviction over the years, because you and I have talked about this for 20 plus years. And here in Cape Town, I'm finding new layers of it, It's not clear which culture I would even belong to here, because there's so many stinking different cultures. It's not clear to me that it's wise to be coiffed. I have no makeup because that didn't come in my carry-on bags. And I have no comb, and I haven't been able to do anything for my hair.
Well, it looks lovely anyway.
Thank you. It means a lot that you think so, but it has some nasty snarls that I'm going to have a really fun time untangling.
Are you saying you're on your way to getting dreadlocks?
I am. I have one. At least
Maybe
one.
by the time we sail to Jamaica, it'd be like, whoa.
I don't want dreadlocks. I really do not.
Jamaican mom.
That's not my goal. But what you're saying there for me is, we were just told today, don't wear flashy jewelry. Don't tempt people to want to, take your jewelry. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I've got a t-shirt and some jeans on and my sneakers. And suddenly it's very different from other places where you really are kind of dressed to kill, or you're dressed for the experience. Here's one of the first times I felt like I am trying to dress to not stand out.
Right.
And that is my goal with you and the boys. I don't want to put myself in a position where we are in danger because of something I wore.
Yeah.
I also know this is true in America as well. So this is like a global truth. We don't really want to be known for our true selves, because we have a really hard time with that with the people we live with. What we want is we want to be thought of as better than our true selves. Mm-hmm. And so we buy clothes and we subscribe to some sort of a brand look, and we find kitchens that look like what we wish ours looked like. In some way, our money finds its way, our treasure finds its way to prove what we value.
And the messaging gets in there and touches on those needs. The felt needs is what.
Yes.
Doesn't mean they're real needs, but we feel like they're needs. And that's what the marketing touches on.
That's right.
And so that even if the clothes don't look attractive, as long as they're trendy, they'll make other people realize that we're in the know.
Yeah, it's a code.
Which brings up, raises our status, which is ironic that we would actually raise our status by maybe wearing things that aren't flattering just to show that we're in the know.
It's very Pan Am.
It's wild. Yeah, you're right, Pan Am, from the Hunger Games.
Yes, from the Hunger Games. It's the central city where all is about looking a certain way when the fashion says to do something, even if it looks terrible on you. Something you said there reminded me. I think if we get annoyed, appropriately angry at marketers for deceiving us, for setting up expectations and then not having any reality to back them up, if we want to live in the real world, if we really think we would be that person who would take the red pill,
yeah,
then one way we can begin that discipline is not by talking bad about marketers around the world. One way we can begin that discipline is by deciding that our physical appearance will match who we actually are.
Or it's okay to be ordinary.
That's a great way to put it. I have a very hard time with that. It feels so. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying my whole being rebels against that, because for me, so much of my life was about trying to be the extraordinary daughter and proving my value in my family of origin.
That's where we receive love.
By being extraordinary and being a standout. And I know I have other family members who would say they survive by being ordinary, so that would be a simple thing, almost a badge of honor to them to be ordinary. When you say by being ordinary, what does it mean to you?
I think, in the work we do, I think it's good to focus on what we're good at.
Yeah.
But I just mean be ordinary as in don't embellish yourself. And if you excel at something, that's great. If you're naturally beautiful, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, obviously. I mean, I say obviously, but I just want to say, even if it's not obvious, there's nothing wrong with being good at things. But I think accepting who you are is the wonderful ordinary place to be. So that when you're called upon to do something and you do it well, let's say make something very, very simple. Let's say it's plumbing and you're good at it. Somebody calls upon it, you can sustain it. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to go in and over talk it. You can sustain it not just today and when you got lucky that you did the plumbing right today.
Right.
But you do it every single day and you're like, this is what I'm good at. I can deliver on it and that's good. It doesn't make me special. But it's still very good to be satisfied by doing good work. It's satisfying to be able to connect to the person and say, I did this for you. I was able to make your pipes work really well. And then part of the mutual exchange is I'm satisfied that I received, compensation for it. That's all just wonderful, satisfying moments. But to think that you're something more than you are and you're over-promising, I think being in the public eye is very dangerous, at least for someone like me, is that, I can give good speeches. When I work on a speech and I craft it, I could give dang good speeches. I know I can. I'll go back and listen to some of them and be like, that was a dang good speech. I'm trying to look at it objectively. But when people come up and they give you accolades for it, you start to feel like maybe there's more to me than I can see. Yeah. And then maybe I need to, stand taller or pretend that I can do more. Or that I'm more of an expert than I really am. And the temptation can sneak in very quickly to be like, oh, maybe I am smarter than I thought than my own capabilities revealed themselves to me. Maybe I am more dynamic. Maybe I am more likable. Rather than taking a step back and be like, look, after you go back home, after you do all these things that people were clapping for, you walk into your house and you take off your shoes and you're glad to see your kids and everybody, and your wife hands you the dish towel and say, here you go, you get to dry the dishes. I'm glad that you're home. Yeah. Here you go, here's the vacuum cleaner. It's your chore to vacuum the house every week because that's what we agreed upon. And here you go, you get to tuck into bed the kids at night even though you're wicked tired. and these things that all these ordinary things we share. And those are all wonderful, good things. They don't get applause, but they might be actually more important. Mm-hmm. And being faithful in those things is the most important. Be faithful with what God's given you, and be faithful to the people around you. That's the important stuff. And that to me is the ordinary stuff. Everybody can do it. Mm-hmm. Find what you're good at and be good at that thing. Mm-hmm. But be faithful to what is around you and what God has given you. Everybody can do this. If you have shoes on your feet, take care of your shoes. Those are things that God's given you. You have a friend, take care of your friend. That's what God's given you. If you're lucky enough to get married to somebody who you like, then take care of that person and take care of your kids. If God's given you some money, great, live within your means. These are things everybody can do. This is an ordinary life. And if somebody, as you go along the way, applauds you for it, you didn't suddenly become important. You're the same dude. You're the same gal. You're just like, oh, today they're clapping for me. I don't need the clapping. The clapping doesn't make the thing that I just did any better than it was. Mm-hmm. It's nice to get recognition sometimes, for sure. But it didn't change a thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the ordinary life. When the applause of others doesn't change a thing.
I want to get there. I know I'm so much closer to that than I was when we stopped doing Solation.
Oh, me too.
And I know we did good work with Solation. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the hard work and the good people we met. I'm so grateful that
I know good work happened.
They found us and we found them.
And we had wonderful ordinary moments. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So many unseen things that you do. Sometimes that's the hard part too, is sometimes you do so many unseen things and you're like, oh, if we don't broadcast this for applause, then the donors don't show up.
That's what really broke our backs with our nonprofit.
I don't like that part. So I would never do that again. And I would recommend, if people want to start a nonprofit, I'd recommend against it. But that's consulting for another time. What I like about Jesus is he didn't start a nonprofit. He didn't look for donors. You see no donor speeches in anything that he does. You know, the people talk about, learning how to, collect donations could be a real, spiritual exercise. Let's teach you how to do it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Been there, done that. I understand it. Heard all the speeches. Jesus didn't worry about that. He did good work wherever he was. And I know people who want to come alongside him than he did. He believed firmly that the one who knows the sparrows that fall and who dresses the tulips and knows the hairs on your head, he knows he is the one who takes care of us. That, the Sermon on the Mount, of course, that's at the end of Sermon on the Mount. That is a deeply profound thing for me. To realize that when you're faithful to God, the God who is there is already faithful to you. And that if you seek his rule in the world, Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of God. The kingdoms have kings, and Jesus is the king. We seek him and make him the king. Everything else is going to be given to you. Everything that you need is there for you until your time is done. And it's time to walk off the stage onto a bigger one with him. That is life with the king. And you see that echoed in Jesus. He's echoing Moses when God said to Moses, if you be faithful to me and what I've given you, I will be your guardian and your gardener. You'll never have drought. You'll never have famine. You'll never have enemies. But if you're not faithful to me, you'll have all those things. It was so easy. But that's a hard thing for me, to know that I can just trust God in that. But I would say to people who want to do nonprofit work to focus on the work, and you can let people know what your needs are. That's certainly fine, but keep on going and doing the work and supplement yourself, and then figure out how to make your work into a for-profit. That's probably what I would say. Mm-hmm. Make profit from your work. If you're helping people, charge them.
If we had that model earlier on, we probably would still be doing Solation.
Yep, I would have found better streams of income to say, I want to help the people who are willing to make this a reciprocated relationship.
Yeah.
I give you service, I give you plumbing, you compensate me properly, and we keep going forward with mutual respect.
And the people we have now, I call them friends, who used to be in our online church community, are the ones who did sustain us.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Who thought our work was worth paying for.
Yeah. But God does take care of us. That's one thing, interesting thing about Jesus with marketing, right? So he doesn't do marketing, he doesn't do fundraising. He is who he is. Mm-hmm. He goes about and he tells people about what he's up to, and he shows people what the kingdom, what his kingship is like as he encounters them. And here's the funny thing, though. Here's the funny thing. Jesus is marketed today as, we can all make fun of the happy clappy churches and all that. That's easy. But he's also marketed as, well, with Jesus, we have the abundant life. And so, I can't believe people are doing all these things because these things that are so bad, talking about everybody going whichever way they want to. Christians, you hear them saying that because Jesus already gave us the abundant life. They should be satisfied. These Christians should be satisfied because Jesus gives the abundant life. And they will talk about it over and over again. It's all over the bumper stickers, the abundant life of Jesus, abundant life of Jesus. And it's the marketing that we have for Jesus.
Huh. I've never thought
Have the
about
joy
that.
of Jesus. Enjoy the love of God today. You don't see that everywhere?
I do, but I've never thought of it as the way Jesus is marketed.
No, Jesus is marketed, yeah. But then that marketing comes on, right? And they're like, okay, so, Jesus, hey, you can imagine you're sitting behind that car. You just read that bumper sticker about abundant life. Hey, Jesus, what's this abundant life thing? What does it mean? What do I get?
Abundant what? Abundant life kind of sounds like you're going to have a plentiful life. Well, plenty of what? What is it that I'm having in plenteousness?
That's it. That's it. That's it. And so Jesus doesn't need marketing. He is telling you that if you continue in my word, then you'll be my students, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And if you are free, you will know the abundant life. For I have come, how's the phrase go? That you might have life and have it more abundantly. Mm-hmm. What is this life he's talking about? And people talk it up. We could talk it up all the time. We could tell people, if you come to Jesus, you're going to get an abundant life. Like, you don't need to give that sales pitch, because Jesus, when he is sharing that, he's speaking deliberately to his students who are already seeking him as king. And that is the prerequisite. Once you understand who Jesus is, how he thinks, what he's up to, you don't say, okay, I'm following Jesus, where's my $1 million? Or I'm following Jesus, I'm not supposed to have hardship, right? Or I'm following Jesus and now I can be an Instagram influencer. Look how cool of a life they have. That's the abundant life, everybody.
Or I'm following Jesus, I'm going to save his planet. Or I'm following Jesus, and so I'm going to do stand against racial injustice.
Yes, I'm doing great things for God, whatever that happens to be. And that's not what Jesus is talking about at all. So you have to understand what is life to Jesus, which your life is not going to be any greater than his. He is the master and the fountainhead of life. You're not going to be greater than his. So what is abundant life? Is Jesus having abundant life? He says you're going to have abundant life. Does he have it? Jesus doesn't have a place to lay his head. Jesus is, mocked and ridiculed often. He has to, dust the dust off of his shoes when he's rejected. But he has abundant life. So what does that mean? That's not a sales pitch for us today. But he had a richer life than anybody else in human existence. The very life that deep down inside we all crave and we're trying to get at, and marketers are trying to play into, to try to fill that, that we always say, that little God-shaped hole or whatever, that hole in your heart that only God can fill. But what is that thing? We got to push more deeply into it, because I know a great many people who say they know God, but they don't have life. Well, they know who God is, and they may have met him, and he might be a really good acquaintance, and they might be like, but I'm saved, and they might be saved, but they don't know the life.
That's
because they don't hang out with Jesus very long to see what it is that he cares about and how he is so satisfied Even when he's out there in the desert for 40 days, 40 nights, not eating or drinking, and the devil comes to tempt him, and he can go right through all three of the greatest temptations that human beings have fallen for since the dawn of time. And he can go through all of them. Mm-hmm. And he comes out unscathed. That guy knows a life. Mm-hmm. He has not fallen in the gutter. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. I love that. But you can't, it's not a sales pitch. It is a guy you walk with, a Jesus you walk with, and you get the real thing. If there's anything, Jesus is the only one that no matter what sales pitch he gives, the product is always better than the marketing.
Yeah. That's
But he doesn't have to sell it that way. He says, if you have ears to hear, you can hear. But first you got to get those ears. And I think if there's any prayer for us, it is, God, give me the ears to hear what you're really up to peel away the layers that others have put upon you.
It's very appropriate to turn this conversation to Jesus' marketing, because if we are concerned about the gap between marketing and reality, as followers of Jesus, we should be really concerned with how Jesus' marketing has destroyed and hidden who he really is.
Yeah, it's twisted our perception of him.
And it doesn't just damage people who need this life, it damages our own lives as we come to think of life with Jesus means church attendance. Or life with Jesus means volunteering.
Or focusing on sinning and not sinning.
Yeah.
Then your focus isn't on the king, it's on your own behavior.
Yes. I really appreciate that connection between life and Jesus' life, because if we think abundant life is supposed to look better than Jesus' life, we are setting ourselves up for an expectation that does not fit the reality of who Jesus actually is.
Isn't that true? What the cool thing is that we get to know Jesus. It is literally right there. Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John.
Yeah.
Just pick up any of them and start reading, get into his head. Mm-hmm. See what he sees. Mm-hmm. See what he thinks of God, of his Father, That's the neat part. It's funny, we're in this rental, and I'm walking around the rental, and there are books everywhere.
Yeah, there
books
are.
on every shelf. And I know all of them.
A lot of classics.
Yes, and all of them are written in English.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, all the best books that I see all sitting here, and even the ones that aren't so good, they're all standing on top of a very deep literary foundation. And that foundation all leads back to a common source. And it is the Bible itself that is the foundation for Western civilization. And how there's no Bible in here. I looked around, I tried to find one. So we're allowed to draw from all these things, to draw from that source, but to go to that source is taboo. It's like, oh, that's religious stuff. That's personal religious stuff. It's a little controversial. Let's put it aside. But all these books, you can make them controversial if you want. Just because somebody doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not good. Just because somebody made it controversial doesn't mean it should be avoided. You know how easy that devil's trick is? Oh, that's a controversial issue. We're not going to talk about it. What if that controversial issue you're talking about is actually drinking water from that well? So you have a well there, and because everybody's conflicting over whether it's, good water, whether you should drink water or not, you decide, well, since it's such a conflicting issue, maybe I should just avoid the well altogether. Like, that's a sad thing. It's a fancy trick, though, the devil's played on us.
It's marketing.
It's marketing.
His marketing.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. You see it on the news all the time. We're not going to talk about this issue. I always hear about, guns are a controversial topic in America. You're like, no, they're not. Somebody marketed that it's a controversial topic.
And we're not going to talk about God because God is a religious idea.
And God's a religious idea, and that's controversial. We're definitely not going to have that on the evening news. Well, who made that controversial? So the ones who win by default are the ones who don't like the thing. And they will say, well, that's controversial. I'm like, you mean you don't like it? But it might be the very truth that you need, and you've been resisting it, and you, as a gatekeeper of information, are going to keep it from everybody else.
I totally see why
clever.
you got kicked out of Pensacola Christian College, Dale. You have so much uncompromising willingness to follow Jesus. I'm so glad I found you, man.
Me too. I'm glad you found me too. I want to say, Jesus said it, if you know the truth will set you free. So part of the abundant life is freedom.
Yes.
Even in a prison cell.
Yes.
Freedom. Can you live and have life in a prison cell. And Jesus is saying emphatically, yes, you can go all the way up to the guillotine with joy. That's where I want to get to. I want to wake up every morning with joy, no matter what suffering I have, no matter what prospects are ahead of me, no matter what storm clouds loom. I want to have joy, and not just because I'm conjuring it up. Oh, I need to do my gratitude practices this morning. Nope. Oh, I need to practice joy. Today's joy. Nope. Nope. Joy is an automatic response when you're held safely in the hands of the King. It's automatic. But if you think about joy, you don't get it. When you think about the King, you get the King and joy with it. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But we want all the benefits of God without God. And you're not going to get any of those benefits. And the marketing will pitch it and sell it all day long. You know, you don't need God. You can just get a Lamborghini. You don't need God. You just get, plastic surgery.
That's right.
You don't need God. You can just go buy a boat.
And the marketers are holding joy as a promise, but that's an overpromise.
Huge, yeah.
One of my big aha moments this last month was that my life mission is to invite other people into joy. And I was sharing that with some smart collectors last week, mm-hmm. and they said back to me, okay, so your mission is to show people joy. I said, no, it's not, because I can't show people joy unless they accept the invitation. They have to be willing to accept the invitation into joy to find it. There's a lot of things I do, including my paintings, that people literally turn around and walk out.
I love it. Ears to hear.
Yeah.
And people have to drop their guard to see. I like that. You do invite people into joy. I've seen it, not just in your artwork. I've seen it in your regular life, and you do it in so many ways. You do it by, yes, showing beautiful places with your painting, the way you present food, the way you are looking out for the needs of those around you, the way you help steer conversations with people into their deeper places where they don't talk about things as much. Probably because of shame or whatever it may be, or that few people are interested or even care. And they're like, wow, somebody who wants to talk about it. All those places are invitations to joy. I love that. I love that about you.
Thanks. Well, I think this was a really helpful conversation about marketing.
This is a great start to our South Africa journey, isn't it?
I was thinking a good example of joy is what God has done with our luggage. I mean, it's not here yet, but we both feel a deep sense of being taken care of these last few days.
Yeah.
And if our bags arrive tomorrow, United has promised to deliver them to our Airbnb address, which protected us from having to purchase a rental car.
A big rental van.
Yeah, to rent a big van. And the anxiety of getting 14 bags through customs, which we were very concerned about. Not because we're doing anything illegal, but because that's a lot of bags.
We're just waiting to be searched and searched and searched, even though, everything is legit.
Just to get out of TSA, we got searched and searched and searched.
You lost your knife. Your ugly, dumb knife. I know, but you're right.
Our youngest was crying about that knife. He told you it was his favorite knife.
Favorite knife. Like, it's the most familiar knife to him, and now he's sad. But I like that you said that. In the middle of this, I do sense joy. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? All our luggage is lost. And then what? God's going to make a way. He's going to make a way. He's going to open up the next spot in our path, and it's going to be okay. I would love for the luggage to get here because I hate those headaches, and I want somebody to pay if they've lost them. But besides that, sense of justice.
You got your $100 voucher. What are you complaining about?
It expires. All right, wrap it up.
All right, Back Porch is what we do together, but we also do things separately. Dale helps families access the Jesus they never knew through his podcast that I think they can purchase that still, right?
100%, yeah. It's in the show notes.
Look in the show notes. It's called The Stories of Jesus for the Modern Family, and Dale uses his skills to unpack Jesus in the Gospel of Mark.
And now I've set it up that if you get Stories of Jesus for the Modern Family, you also get Teaching Our Kids the Bible. So you get the lessons on how to read the Bible for yourself, and the stories in Genesis that I've already finished. So
excellent.
Indeed.
Dale teaches our boys from the Bible and wants to empower families to teach the Bible themselves to their children rather than relying on a curriculum. It's easier than you think. And my life mission, as you've heard, is to invite others into joy. And you can take a look at my paintings and my blog to learn more about how I do that. Those links, as well as our classes on how to become a more spiritually healthy Christian, can be found in the show notes. Check out those links and join us next time. If you'd like to share a question or feedback, you can email us directly at hello@dalefincher.com. We'll catch you next time on The Back Porch.